And we are live. Welcome to the Sketch Zone podcast. I am Carlos Gomez, and I need to point out that doing this podcast is so sweet when we have a guest like this guy coming on. And you're going to ask me, well, Carlos, but why? I'm going to say, because my friends like to make fun of me. And then when I can actually go out and get the guy who started the thing that I was doing that they were making fun of me about, it makes things that much better. That guy, my friends, that guy
the
is
coolest
Mr.
cooler?
Sketch Wallet, Mr. Sketch Wallet.
Oh, is
yeah,
it
the
really?
coolest cooler guy. No.
Is it?
Actually, this.
That would be the most epic
I would still
showdown.
I would still go in.
If you get that guy, invite me back. I want to meet him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make margaritas for that one. No, for real. We have the inventor of the Sketch Wallet, Mr.
Okay.
Ralph Thomas.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to the show, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for the invite.
And even more than thank you for being on the show, thank you for the Sketch Wallet.
Oh, he just pulls it out.
Bam. Oh, yeah, by the way, thank you for the Sketch Wallet t-shirt.
Oh,
serious?
look at that.
Nice.
You can stand up, Ralph. Stand up, Ralph.
Did you guys plan this?
Twinning!
Wow.
Winning!
No, we didn't plan it. It was just, the universe coming together.
Ah.
I was pandering.
There you were.
And that lovely deep voice
Yes,
to the left is Charlie B. Williams III.
Hello, everyone. I'm back, and my mic is working correctly. This voice is amazing.
Why are you being all like sultry and stuff?
I know.
Is it working? Is it working? Try it.
I just got a message. 3 women have called in pregnant because of Charlie's voice.
Ooh, stop it.
Welcome to the Sketch Zone.
Welcome. And that guy right there, that's Jack Kasperzak.
Hello. I'm not even going to try and do a voice to beat Charlie's.
Your hello is
not even-
amazing.
That's
I like
not-
it.
Hello.
There it is.
Jack, your name is a poem.
It is.
It does indeed kind of rhyme. I think there's a name for that when the first and last syllable. I don't know. Somebody smarter than me can.
Talk about a haiku?
Yes, my name is IQ 575.
What's the other one when the first and last one? What is that poem called?
No idea. Somebody smarter than me.
I don't have enough education to know that.
You know what? I feel
Someone
like that's
please
like
wake Ralph up.
I feel like that's like
I think we just bored him to tears.
no, I think that's like
Yeah.
something we should know from elementary school or
It's
something.
like, what did I sign up for?
That was too long ago.
I know, right? So yeah, we have the inventor of the Sketch Wallet. So he's not just an inventor though. He does like drawings and stuff.
He draws.
He's a drawer.
Yeah, he's one of the artsy types.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that, Ralph. What do you do for a living?
So most of my adult life I've been in traditional advertising. So newspaper ads, magazine layout, TV spot storyboards, traditional advertising stuff. And then kind of when the whole world was turned on its head, traditional advertising just sank. And so I switched over to games. I was lucky enough to get a job in games. So I'm in casual games on Facebook, mobile devices, PC. The company I work for is Genesis Gaming. They do mostly slot-style gaming, like Vegas games. But I tend to do mostly the Facebook side of things. So it's a ton of fun, and it's a small company, so a lot of the games we do I get to come up with the theme, or they'll just say, come up with a bunch of ideas and pitch them, and so that's been a ton of fun to just come up with random ideas on what I want to do, and they'll go with them.
And they do. You said you do slot machine games.
Yeah.
That's like who was that in Chicago? That WMS Gaming, I think.
WMS Gaming. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a really big one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're very big.
Yeah.
We also have buddies over at IGT.
Yep.
Carlos, Steve, and Corey. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where is that based out of?
Nevada.
Yeah, they're here. I don't know if their headquarters is in Reno, but they have a big office here. I don't know how many employees they have, but they have a ton.
Yeah.
Vegas and Reno.
Where? Okay. I was going to ask you, where is here? What part of Nevada do you live in?
Okay, so I live in Henderson. Our office is in Las Vegas. So Henderson is just a suburb of Vegas. But I grew up here in Las Vegas, the north side of town.
What was that like?
Please tell.
Because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and you happened in Vegas, and you stayed in Vegas.
I think you can't leave. Once you live here, you can't go anywhere else.
You're stuck, right?
Stuck. Yeah, you have to stay.
It's like living in quicksand.
Yeah, you can't leave. It's
wow, you're just full of them tonight.
Yeah, it's like
I'm full of it tonight.
Your one-liners are amazing. But
I don't know, like growing up here was, when you're a kid, you think every place in the world is like, your hometown.
Yeah.
And I probably was, I'm not kidding you, like 14 years old before I realized that the whole world doesn't have slot machines in 7-Eleven, or Mr. Robertson's.
Nice.
And it just kind of clicked, like, where are all the slot machines? And, I didn't even realize that every place didn't have them. And, or I'd go visit family in northern Nevada or Arizona or something, and, like, stores would close at 5 or 6. And I was like, what? Are they out of business? Like,
depending on how close to the
close.
Depending on how close to the strip you are, you're like, oh, the sun goes down?
Darkness? What is darkness? I don't know what that
is. Is that what it meant?
So in general, based on the viewers that may not know, like, how is the city of Vegas besides the strip? Is it a pretty large city, medium size? Like, how is it? Because I don't think people really realize what Vegas is outside of just the strip, since you grew up there.
I don't know what we're up to now. 2 or 3 million people. But off the strip, it's a great community. It's a lot of families, and if you stayed just on the strip, you wouldn't think that any families live here. But there's a lot of families. There's community. There's churches. There's everything. But where I live in Henderson. It's an amazing city. I think they're continuously on the top, 10 places to live. They have bike trails everywhere. Part of the city statutes are, you have to be within, less than a mile to a park. So it's great.
That's awesome. Interesting.
It's a great city, but the city itself it's a little weird. Like, I don't know. Let me think of an example. Like I see Elvis all the time.
Elvis sightings.
So it's like,
and it's not the guy who lives in your head.
No, like, it's completely normal. Like, I'll be driving on the highway and you'll see like a plumbing truck, and Elvis is driving it. Big old pompadour, sideburns, getting down to business glasses. The whole thing. Like, Elvis is driving the plumber truck. And so
it'll fix your leaky faucet also.
So how?
Yeah, so it's
how does that affect you as a kid? Like, everywhere you go, there's Elvis, there's like a Marilyn Monroe, and then let's say you go somewhere to, like, I don't know, somewhere in Ohio. Like, is the rest of the world just boring to you?
I don't know. It's appealing. Like you get away from Vegas and it feels like you can relax. You know, like wow, this is amazing. People aren't running around everywhere. So it's no, I certainly don't look down on other places. It feels nice to get out every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that play in your becoming an artist? Do you think living in Vegas had anything to do with that? Did it feed into your imagination at all?
I would definitely say that it does affect my style. For example, I love custom typography, and I'll find myself
That's cool. Yeah.
looking at the amazing like vintage signs. I mean, back when signs were a real deal, like these amazing full-blown, neon signs with, light bulbs and, animatronics and stuff from the 50s and 60s. Vegas has the most amazing signs, I think, and these guys were super skilled at typography and, uh, you know, laying things out, composition. So I think that a lot of that had to play a part in my style.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's a very creative town as far as that goes.
Because before games, you said you were doing advertising, and Vegas seems like kind of one of the capitals of advertising. I mean, they're trying to sell you so much stuff, and every casino has, and even down to like stuff that's not traditional advertising, like a billboard. I mean, they're just trying to reroute you through the casino, and like there's a whole methodology of yeah.
There's definitely it's very unique when it comes to promotion.
Yeah.
The first place I worked at that was art related out of high school was a taxi cab sign printing company. So I'm putting together taxi cab signs and so which
There's
is
plenty of business.
a big deal here.
Yeah.
We'll see what Uber does to that, but
Yeah, I wonder how that is. You'll start seeing the magnetic signs on people's minivans and
Right.
Ubers.
I don't know.
So, yeah. It'd be interesting
People are
how they
already
do
doing that. People are already doing that. Like all of these small businesses, they go to one of these printing companies and they get all these magnets and window stickers and they
wrap their
paste
car
them up there.
You
Oh
see
yeah,
that
yeah,
too?
yeah, yeah.
The wrapping of the cars.
That's happening. And
Yeah.
I mean, and then you get the people that are either lazy or broke, and they just put like some really bad stickers on their window. And
homemade.
and I can go down that road, but I'm gonna try to stay respectful to the small businesses out there.
I just think that, advertising has changed so much. It used to be that phone books were effective. I mean, it used to be that billboards and taxi cab signs were effective. Where nowadays you could advertise on Facebook or whatever and be so targeted to your demographic that it feels foolish to put something in the newspaper.
Like Yelp is amazing. I had to look up a repair guy for a refrigerator last weekend and just went on Yelp and found the best review. And found somebody that day. Where back then you would open up a phone book, right?
And
you had no
they could
idea.
fool you.
Right.
They can't with Yelp. They can't fool you because you have 200 people leaving a review. But in the phone book, you just look at the quality of the ad and
they got it together. Yeah.
You have to guess.
Yeah.
And you just have a horribly bad plumber.
The real simple ads, you're like, we're going to stay clear of those. Just text. Really small, no logo.
There's no picture of the plumber that's dressed like Elvis?
Yeah, it's just plumber.
Elvis plumbing, yeah. Getting down to business. When they put the word honest in the ad, then you know you're in trouble.
Yeah. Exactly. So at what point, when you were a kid, at what point did you know you wanted to be in a creative field?
I think every kid starts out drawing. Every kid is an artist when they start. Everybody starts out that way. But I think when I got serious, it was literally third or fourth grade when I decided I'm going to be an artist. That's what I'm going to do. You know, I didn't know what exactly I was going to be doing, but I was going to be an artist. You know, you look at, you know, Disney, or you look at comic strips in the newspaper, and that's, you know, kind of what you know. But I was going to be an artist. I mean, at third or fourth grade is what I decided, and just got real serious about it back then. You know.
Yeah. Did you know that you wanted to get into advertising when you were a kid, or was that just something that you happened across?
Yeah, well, if I could jump in a time machine and go back, I think that I would have had a plan. I didn't have a plan at all. And advertising just happened to be the first place I got a job, you know, a real design job was in advertising, and I just stuck in it, and it was easy to stay in advertising. And especially in this town, there was a lot of money in it, because not only do we have our own advertising ecosystem, we had every other big company in the world wanted to advertise in Vegas just because we get so many tourists. I mean, so many people come through this town, and it's, you know, like a constant Super Bowl of people, you know. So advertising, there was a lot of money in it. There was a lot of jobs, and it just seemed to stick. So until, you know, 2007, 2008, when everything was turned upside down, that was just where the jobs were. And gaming was just kind of this untouchable area, you know, until you know, iPhone, iPad, till mobile came out, till Facebook took off. I mean, casual gaming really didn't, you know, it didn't seem feasible to me.
Is the world of gaming and the world of advertising, or let me say the creative world of each of those, are they similar?
I don't know. I think that the differences to me are speak so loud that it's hard to find similarities. For example, when I worked in advertising, I would crank out so many different jobs in a single day. So on my desk was a constant rotation of changes in particular jobs. In gaming, you're working on one game for a long period of time. So I may have 2 months to finish a game. And so coming from advertising, I was blown away. Like, I get to work on one project for an entire 2 months. You know, and so it was a lot more focused, instead of advertising was just you're quickly, you know, crazy deadlines, always switching gears. Gaming is completely different, but I like it.
Hang on, my mouse is going crazy. You were talking about how you came up in the world of advertising, and before the show you were explaining to me how you were in advertising when that world was completely analog. Can you describe to our listeners the world back then? And I'll join in too, because I have some really good stories.
It's hard to imagine. I mean, it really is hard to imagine that even for reference, if I needed a reference, a blue-tongued lizard from Australia, there was no Google, there was no internet, so I had to go to the library, find a book on Australia, and bring it back to the office, and then sketch it and do some line work or whatever and put it in the ad. So here's how the flow went before computers. You had so many people that touched the ad. You had a copywriter that's their entire job was to write the text for the ad, and then there was a whole science to get the copy printed. So we had a whole room that had this massive space-age computer, and it had a little tiny, it was probably, 8-inch square screen that was green and black. And the manual to this typesetting program was like a phone book. And so you had these specialists that all they did was typeset, and it was so complicated it was unbelievable how complicated it was. And so, anyways, then they would typeset something. It would calculate the number of characters, the number of spaces, and they had to be exact because it had to fit right into your ad because you were going to actually glue it in. You were going to wax it in.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
say that one more time because people don't understand.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, so there was a special room. It had this big space age computer. They would typeset something, and then they would send it to be printed. To be proofed. I don't even remember what it was called, but this little piece of film would go through a processor and then pop out a slot in the wall.
Wait,
so you would
what?
go to the wall, and the slot of paper, like it would just pop right out of the wall. So you would take this little piece of like white film paper, and then you would have a layout that you either cut with an X-Acto knife on ruby material, like the line. So let's say you had a border around the ad. You either drew that with a micron pen, or you cut it with an X-Acto knife out of Rubylith. And so Rubylith is like a plastic sheet with red gel on it that you peel up, and it's I don't know, it's really hard to explain, but
Oh God!
How long did this take?
Forever.
so like let me give you an example. Like a quarter-page ad in a magazine, quarter-page that was 2 colors would take me probably at least a half a day if I was hustling. A half a day to do a quarter-page ad that was black and red or black and magenta. So
Wow.
but like you'd have to take your artwork. If I drew something, I would ink it and take it into the camera room. The camera was as big as a truck, and it was like you had to like go in the door. You had to flip on these special lights to let people know that you were in the camera room. So nobody walked through the door. You had a green light for sensitive film. If it was a different type of film, it was red lights. You actually processed the film. Like you would shoot your illustration on a camera.
You're scaling it up yourself, right? In the dark.
You would scale it to the size you need, and then you would develop that film. When I was young, I was the guy developing the film and cleaning out the machine with the chemistry and all that stuff.
You had to smell amazing at the end of the night going home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I get cancer, you guys know what happened.
Yeah, like
let me take a moment right now to
give Ralph a medal.
chastise is not the right word, but to like maybe shame. Those of you who are so lazy as to not save your work every 5 to 10 minutes, because all you have to do is hit 2 keys, Command S or Control S. Listen to me when I tell you. Go back about 2 to 3 minutes and listen to what Ralph just got done explaining to you. And all he did was design a quarter-page ad. The camera was as big as a truck. So if you don't... because now software goes through and auto-saves.
Yes.
You're that lazy that you can't even remember to save a file.
It's okay, Carlos.
Ralph was dealing with a camera that was as big as a truck.
And X-Acto
chemicals spilling all over the place.
Rubylith. Let me tell you, I can't even remember the last time I heard the word Rubylith.
I don't even know if you can buy it anymore.
I just smell the camera, the darkroom chemicals because that was an internship.
Ralph was working on a quarter-page
that.
ad. He had to wear those lead vests on.
Something out of like Breaking Bad. Just the way those chemicals smelled, man. They were just on the photographer I was an intern for.
Holy moly!
It's just in your clothes at the end of the day.
The awesome. Transition was overnight, though. The unreal thing was, it seemed like without warning, it just overnight, all that went away. And literally, here's how it went. So I saw the owners messing with a couple computers. We had a Silicon Graphics machine that cost probably $30,000. It was insane. and they were practicing different software, trying things out, and we had one computer guy who was doing some things, and I asked the owners, I said, I'm really interested in learning this computer thing. Can I stay afterwards on my own time and bug this guy and just learn a couple things? And so they said, sure. So I was learning it, and I remember I drew like a shiny cherry, and I was so proud of myself. Now I look back, it was probably really stupid, but I was so proud of myself that I made this shiny cherry that had a few colors and a shiny glare on it and everything. But one day, the owners came in. They had, I think, 7 Macs. They brought in 7 Macs and said, "This is how we're doing things." They let go of the whole night crew.
Wow.
We had a night crew.
Wow.
They let go of the whole night crew and half of the day crew, and that was it. We went digital.
So glad you stayed after. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was young. I was a low-paid employee, and I liked the computer, so that saved me. I was able to keep my job because I was young and cheap, and I liked the computer. So, but it was weird.
I went to school for advertising, and one of my first jobs out of college was the Spanish TV guide in Chicago. And I thought I was all that and a bag of chips when they had me do this ad for this local grocery store, and I drew a milk container with a little bread loaf in the back and some eggs, and I did it in Illustrator, or was it Corel? I think it was maybe even Corel Draw. And so the gradient that I put on the egg kept crashing all the computers.
It's too much. One gradient on an egg does too much.
The computer just completely quit.
And they were probably so impressed with your design skills and that gradient.
It was like, man,
Dude,
Carlos's drawings are breaking stuff.
Yeah, earth changing. Yeah, like after that, people saw that was the future. They literally said, "Oh wow, we don't have to pay for a photo shoot for eggs and a carton of milk." And yeah, people kept asking me to design stuff and illustrate stuff for them, which was pretty neat.
Well, we went through that weird period where, you remember the book that came with Corel Draw? It was this big fat book that had like all of these clip art illustrations in it.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I was just like, oh, this cannot be good. This is bad news.
Yeah.
And sure enough, all the ads you saw like
clip
for a couple
art
of years
was
clip
just
art.
clip art, and
Yeah.
they just kept making those programs
CDs.
bigger and bigger, just thick ones. My mom did publications for churches and all that stuff, so she just had like books of these clip arts. You can find anything.
Like binders.
Yeah,
Binders.
For those of you kids that have never seen this, they used to make these huge clip art books, and then you'd open it. There would be this little plastic envelope that was glued to the back cover with the CD of all the
or
clip
like
art
7 CDs.
7 CDs. You had to look for the number.
Yeah. So then you'd have to
Or the box of floppy disks.
listen to me when I say, if you don't hit that Command S, we're fighting, because this is what it used to be. You used to have to flip through the book to find the proper clip art, and then you'd look at the number, and then you'd have to go through the CD. Mind you, CD players weren't all that fast, back in the day. So you'd have to push the button.
It boots
Probably
up with
about
the
30
light.
minutes later, after hitting the button, the little CD thing would open. You put the
Starts
CD
cooking.
in, you close it. About another 30 minutes before it starts to load up all the images.
Well, the CD sounded like it was cooking, because then the little light will come on. You know, the
Yeah,
little green light will come
blinking.
on. It starts
Then
blinking
it
like
starts smelling like
it's working.
burning.
So much nostalgia in this
And
episode.
right
It's
now,
awesome.
right now, people are like, "Oh my god, I totally have to Google that."
Yeah, they're like, I don't know what a floppy disk looks like.
For some reason, when we talk about this, like I get this like anxiety in the back of my neck, like it was so painful. It was so painful back then.
Yeah.
It was painful, and I actually, honestly, I even remember. I mean, I know it's like always technology is always getting better, and like we always think like, oh, this is the best new thing. But I remember there being like a specific time period when I was just like, God, this sucks. It's gonna be so much better in 5 years.
Well, talk about
Like I don't really think that much now. I feel like we've got so much of the major problems figured out, but like I remember the first digital cameras where you had to like jam a floppy disk in the side of it. I remember thinking, I'm like, this is so lame. This will be so much better in like 5 years.
The pictures were horrible. Like, they turned out horrible.
Yeah, even the zip drives and stuff, where we thought it was getting better, but they were just a cool new looking floppy. And I just remember losing so much stuff back then, like where it would like break off in your book bag if you didn't have it like set up correctly, like the little silver thing would break off and you'd lose your work. You try to put it back on.
Well, and backing things up was so horrible too. I mean, your backup drive was only 44 megabytes, or less. I mean, 44 was when you got up way up there. I mean, 44 was crazy.
Yeah, so we can start talking about jazz discs and
SideQuest or
SideQuest. Yeah.
Zip.
This is back when Photoshop didn't have drop shadow. You actually had to like create your text and then Gaussian blur that text. Whereas now all you do is a real quick at the bottom right hand corner of your screen, just do drop shadow. Oh great. Huh. And then
I remember when Photoshop it didn't even have layers.
Yeah.
The original, I mean, the early Photoshops didn't have layers, and it's like I could never work without layers now.
Yeah, I tell you. Yeah, that's a good thing.
We're like a couple of old farts talking about the good old days or the bad old days,
Back in my day,
we might as well be in the old folks
to save our files by ourselves. So then, let's go back to when you were learning about advertising and everything. Did you ever go to art school or art college at all, Ralph?
No, and I don't know. I flop back and forth. Like, if I could go back in time, some days I would totally go to art school because I think it would have put me on the right direction or introduced me to a lot of great people or taught me the right tools. And then other days I'm like, you know what? I work alongside college graduates and we're all in the same place, And I just went to work and got no debt. And, so I flip-flop. But I think if a person is driven and they're focused, they probably could do without school. But, my own kids, I'm telling them that they should go to school. My daughter wants to go to art school.
No.
And, I think it's a good idea. But for me personally, I hated high school so bad. Like, it was the worst. Like, none of my teachers, well, I can't say none. I did, my yearbook teacher did encourage me to pursue art. But everybody else, like my math teacher, I remember him asking me, he goes, do you think you're going to draw your way through life? And I wasn't trying to be a smarty pants. I was like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but honestly, I really, that is the plan. I'm going to draw my way through life,
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to pay the bills. And he was like, well, might want to think about a plan B, like I just told him I want to be, in the NFL or something,
Yeah.
or a rock star or something, but I hated high school. It was just like they didn't get me, I didn't get them. It felt like a complete waste of time. Um, so I guess I was a little dramatic, but I was
Wow.
like, I am not gonna do 4 more years of that,
Yeah, I hear you. Um, how do I say this? So, at least for me, let me start like that. At least for me, art school was not really like school.
Because you,
Huh?
'cause you were the guinea pig.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I remember I had, what math class was that? The one that teaches about knots and stuff, quantitative literacy.
Yeah.
And I probably was a solid C to B student, you know. I do like math, but I'd rather throw a pencil around, you know what I mean? Um, and so I didn't really apply myself, but then I got a really good grade because my final project was basically just a video that I had some knots floating around, and I think at one point I had a 3D Homer Simpson walking by and all kinds of stuff. And because of that, I got a really good grade in that class.
You just
So
dazzled them with effects.
yeah,
They didn't
I'm
even
like,
notice the math part. You just dazzled them
yeah,
with effects.
I'm in art school. I'm not going to be doing math for a living. And then I turned into a programmer.
You don't use math in programming, do you?
No, not at all.
Yeah, and I wish I would have known a professional artist that could have said, "Look, art school is not like the high school you went to. These
Yeah.
guys are focused on art. It's a whole different world. You're gonna thrive here. You're gonna love it. You can't wait to do your homework.
Yeah.
I wish somebody would have told me that, and I think that's why I'm encouraging my daughter to go. So,
As a matter of fact, while we talk about art and all that stuff, I'm going to share my screen so we can see some of your artwork.
right on.
And I see, we'll talk about the wallet here in a second, but um, I wanted to talk to you about um, digital versus traditional.
Yeah.
What are some of the benefits of each, or which one do you like better?
Um, for me, I love traditional. I feel more creative. I feel like I can put together an image, like a direction and a feel, much more fluid with a pencil in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the digital at the same time. I love the fact that I can keep working an image until it's just right. Where you can't keep working a watercolor. It's just you kind of have to nail it and then or redo it. But digital, I mean, you could just keep working it and you know get it till it's exactly how you want it.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be in the old days. Here we go again. But somebody would say, "Can you change this or move that?" And you say, "Yeah, come back next Wednesday." Because it took
Yeah.
so long to make any
Yeah.
changes. Nowadays, you could change anything you want on the fly, and people can stand right behind you and just make changes and requests, and it's so much better. But I think I will always be a creative thinker with pencil and paper, and I love ink. I love markers. Um, but to me, the creative process always starts on pencil, even if I take it to digital.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a big Cintiq at work, but I still, for some reason, will start out in pencil. I'm just more comfortable in the creative process with pencil.
So talk about your process. You start with a piece of paper and a pencil, maybe even pull out your wallet. I don't know.
Yeah, so I
Possibly.
mean, if I'm in the idea phase, like a lot of the games that I'll do, I'll have a ton of ideas in my wallet, and I'll flip through and say, how about this idea? And some may get accepted or whatever, but at work I have my large sketch pads, and I'll sketch through, 5 or 6 different images of a character until I get to one I like. And sometimes I'll just patch 2 sketches I like together in Photoshop. But I'll start with a pencil. I put an extra step in there that I think most people don't put in, and that is I bring it into Illustrator and I do all the flat colors in Illustrator. And I don't know why that is, other than to me it feels like clay, like you can keep moving the lines, the vector lines around
Mm-hmm.
until you get the composition right.
Oh yeah.
I can also kind of mess with the flat colors and get a solid foundation. And if I don't leave it in vector, I'll bring it into Photoshop in layers, and I'll just color one layer at a time. And it makes, for some reason, if you go from Illustrator to Photoshop, it stays super clean. Like the edges are super tight.
Yeah. And it does add a layer of flexibility to it too, because if you have the smart objects, you can always just go in and adjust.
Go back and forth, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. So let's talk about that for a second. We were working in Photoshop before smart objects.
Just like last year.
Yeah, right. That was a long ago.
Yeah, that's that long ago, yeah.
Yeah, smart objects were such a great addition. And for those folks that don't really know Photoshop or even smart objects, like imagine if you had some artwork, you can draw something really huge, right? And then you can scale it down. But if you're working in Photoshop, if you scale something down, you can't really scale it back up. You lose all that pixel information. If you do something in Illustrator, you don't have to worry about it, obviously, because it's math computing all the different curves and angles and everything. So what Photoshop did is they introduced these smart layers, so you could smart objects, so you could draw something really huge, really big, and then create a smart object, and then you can resize it and everything, but it keeps all of the information of the original drawing, which it adds so much flexibility. And then what you could do is kind of like what Ralph does. He creates artwork in Illustrator, and then he brings it into Photoshop, and then he does some magical things to it, like this Turf Wars.
Yeah, it was really nice to be able to go back and forth between your Illustrator documents. So say even with like the text and stuff, you're able to, change the line widths and stuff like that, because it's like a drag and drop. That's what I used to like. I used to have Illustrator and Photoshop open and then just grab whatever piece of artwork from the canvas and drag it directly into Photoshop. Know that you want to be a smart layer, and even if you need to fix it, you can double click on that layer and it will open up a pseudo version of Illustrator which only had that object. If it was like the character you were working on and you're working on the outlines, it would only have that object open up in a new Illustrator. So any changes you did to that, once you saved it and closed the file, and pop back over into Photoshop, it would instantly change and propagate with those changes that you had. It's really nice.
Do you guys remember Go Live?
Yep.
Adobe Go Live?
Mm-hmm.
So that, to me, was amazing when that came out, because if you built a web page in Illustrator or Photoshop, and then you sliced up the images to work in your cells or whatever on your web page, and you made a change, you had to go make a change to the original. Then you had to re-slice it up and all that stuff. When Go Live, you could put those live Illustrator files or Photoshop files and it would remember the slices. And to me, that was like, it was a miracle.
Yeah.
You could save so much time.
Isn't that what?
So much time.
Isn't that what Image Ready turned into? Like, or no, or was it the other way around?
I think it's the other way around, because I think Go Live was in existence, but then they took the bits and pieces of that and introduced it as the razor blade function or whatever in Photoshop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they just brought it in with the X-Acto knife, not the razor blade, but the X-Acto knife.
Yeah.
I think Adobe Muse now does, which is a relatively new piece of software. It does a lot of the things Go Live used to. And so when Go Live went away and they only had the option of Dreamweaver, it was kind of sad because they missed out on all this ease of use stuff that was aimed more at artists. But Muse seems to be going back to that old making it easy on the artist idea.
Mm-hmm.
And Ralph, did you ever check out the? We were talking about this in another show, but the new font tools that they're working on with Adobe. You can even run them on like the iPad and stuff like that. And you can intuitively like change kerning and change the different attributes that make up a font, like the serif and all that stuff. Have you seen any of those videos yet?
I haven't, and I need to, because I love typography, but the games and stuff I'm doing now, anything that's live text, I don't mess with because it gets translated into 13 different languges, and so we have a different team that handles the engineers handle all the live text. So I don't design a lot of it
too. How does that work? So like the Tommy knockers that we're seeing here, would you have to do artwork in a different language that fits with that language's font or whatever?
No, so that logo right there, I hand drew that.
Mm-hmm.
But for other languages, it would just stay in English.
Oh, okay.
So typically the logo will stay in English. There's a few words that always will remain in English, like wild and bonus. So like the wild and bonus symbol of a game typically will stay in English. But all the stuff you see on the button panel below, pay table, all that stuff will change. Spin, bet max, bet one, that'll change to, Chinese or Russian or whatever language.
Yeah.
So this, for example, this Tommy Knocker game that we're looking at, the artwork that we're looking at, does your work only go on Facebook, or do they ever have you designing things for a device?
They end up on Facebook and mobile, typically.
Okay.
More and more people are. It used to be that everything was desktop, and then a very small percentage was mobile. Nowadays, when you look at the statistics, the majority of people are playing on mobile devices.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's created this whole strange dynamic where everything has to scale dynamically to whatever size screen, whether they're using a Samsung phone or iPhone or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that a nightmare?
It is. Yeah. Well, it takes a different way of thinking. It feels more like you're designing a web page than a game. It used to be that the games were all a very fixed size, but nowadays it feels more like a dynamic web page that will adjust to whatever screen you're on.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about how that affects because you have to do a lot of stuff. I think a lot of people that don't know much about the game industry when it comes to slot machines and all those things is that and I don't know how your team is. Maybe you can explain your team, but a lot of times you're working on either smaller teams, or as the artist you have to do a lot more work than just create the artwork. There's a lot of other stuff that you have to provide the programmers with, and talk about how you have to work. It's just differently for those type of games. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is, and I think because I'm with a smaller company and not like IGT or WMS, I get to do all of the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're working for IGT or some of these big name slot companies, I may only do like the logo, and then somebody else will do the character. Somebody else will do the symbols, ace through 9. Somebody else will do the background, and so you have kind of a bunch of artists that have particular strengths, and they'll do their own unique part. Well, for me, I like doing everything myself. I don't mind working as a team, but it is kind of fun that every piece of art in that game was created by me, and so
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
it's a lot of fun. And I
Are
like.
you your own art director?
No, we do have. We don't have an art director. We just have a project manager, and
Mm.
they will give you direction kind of based on what the client feedback is.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
I was interested because I have this saying, no one wants to be the artist until the artist shows up, right? And so all of a sudden everyone has an opinion. So talk to us about how you come up with an idea for a game and then you start working on the graphics for the game. Who is it that says, "Meh, I don't know, I don't like that fish"?
So what happens is, so for example, like on Turf War, there's a math department or somebody doing the math of the game.
Wow.
And they'll say, we need a 3-way battle. So you have to come up with an idea that is 3 different things that are competing against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put on my thinking cap and came up with this garden game where the gnomes are battling the critters, and there's also weeds. And so you have the gnomes are trying to take care of the garden, the critters are trying to harvest the garden, the weeds are trying to overtake the garden, and so you have this 3-way battle.
Mm.
And so they gave me kind of the outline of the math, and then I came up with the 3-way battle between the gnomes, the critters, and the weeds.
I see.
It's a really fancy rock, paper, scissors.
Wow. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's and yeah, and I had always wanted to try this idea with the garden furrows being the reels,
Oh.
because it can get boring. You get the same old looking reels in every game. It's fun to mix it up a little bit, but sometimes you have to pull your creativity back a little bit if it doesn't make sense to the player. So I may think I'm really clever, but the player looks at it and doesn't get what's happening. Sometimes you got to step back a little bit. But so it goes from math to me, and the project manager kind of oversees the whole thing. I'll do all the artwork, but I do it in layers, and I may do alternate eyes, I may do alternate mouths or hands. I break everything into pieces, and then it'll go from me to an animator. So, and we have really great animators that make it come to life. So they'll look at the game spec, do all the animations based on what's going to happen in the game, and then from animation it will go to engineering. And so these guys will actually program everything that happens. So they look at the math, and then put everything together and make it happen, and then integrate it with Facebook when it's done.
What software do you guys use for the animation?
I believe they use After Effects as well as Adobe Animate or Flash. But it used to be After Effects for the majority of it. Now that we have to crunch them small so they work for HTML5, I think they're using some other tools as well.
Mm-hmm.
One good thing about doing these type of slot games is you'll notice that, I mean, the themes are all over the place. The style between the gnomes and Red Hot Rockets, or the Thanksgiving one that looked like paper cutouts. I mean, they're completely different in that's one beauty about what I do is I can explore different styles.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's good.
You know,
Yeah.
I have friends that work in different gaming industries, and they're doing first-person shooters. And one guy was telling me, he's like, I've drawn soldiers for 10 years, nothing but soldiers, and so I'm glad that I get to mix it up. Every month I'm doing something different.
Yeah.
So what's the timeline like for when you're coming up with these ideas?
Typically, I'll have 2 months. Some of these, like Thanksgiving Feast that you're looking at,
Mm-hmm.
that one literally was I think 2 weeks, 2.5. It was really fast, and
That's
so
pretty
I,
quick,
I
yeah.
wanted to pitch something that I could do really fast. So those flat shapes with the paper texture, I was able to do that really fast. But yeah, it kind of is deadline driven. But lately, it seems like I've been getting about 2 months to do a game.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's to me it seems
Compared
really
to
comfortable.
Hey Charlie, some of the games that you've worked on, how long does it take to get a game out?
If it's a console game or PC title or something like that, you can go 2 years, 2-3 years is average.
So if you have ADD, that's not the place to
Yeah.
go.
Where I'm
This is
at
the
now
place
is
of the
closer
AD.
to what he has. We have like 3 months, 2 months, which they still want the same quality, and then that gets harder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's the problem.
For advertising, like, oh yeah, make it look like this. Here's 2 months, go. Oh, so yeah, but yeah,
I
if
feel
you're a
your
regular console, like I grew to appreciate that from working at my new place now because now I kind of miss those 2-3 years where I can like sketch out you see the whole process and say you have a month for just this level, I used to say that's not enough time, a month for a level, it's not enough time, this is horrible working conditions. Yeah, I now it's like a level in 2 days or so.
Oh dang!
Yeah.
That's like the guy that cranked out the ET game. You ever hear his story?
Yeah.
That poor guy. He didn't
Poor
have
guy.
any time, and then everybody's mad at him because the game bombed.
There's so many copies.
Yeah, I feel bad for that guy.
That was a horrible game.
It was a horrible game. You spent your like whole game jumping into holes and then floating out of them.
Yeah, or you get stuck in a hole and you can't get out.
Yeah, she's
The whole
stuck.
thing.
Oh man, they're like, this movie's gonna be big. This game's gonna be amazing. And then they end up burying the game because they couldn't get rid of all the copies. They just dug that up like last year, right? I think it was like last year as of it last summertime. Because we thought it was a myth. It was somewhere in Nevada, I want to say, like in the desert, and they like went out there and digged them up, and sure enough, there's like cases of ET and a couple other failed games during that first game crash when our game industry crashed back in the 80s.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of mysterious things buried in the desert out here.
Right. There it is.
Mostly Italians. Speaking of getting around in the desert, see that one?
Here we go. Jack.
Hey, look at he's gonna.
Jack is shaking his head. No.
How do you get to and from work?
I'm a bike commuter. I'm a diehard cyclist.
Oh, nice. You got a nice bike?
No, I have a piece of junk.
I heard diehard. I'm thinking like carbon fiber. It's like light to the touch. Going in. He's like, no, my bike is heavy and it's loud and rickety.
No, I'll tell you what I have. I bought a bike on eBay. It was like $400, and it's been a great bike. It's a pack mule. It's a touring bike, so it's meant to carry like saddlebags and panniers and all that. But I just love to ride. I don't have any fancy cycling clothes or anything like that. I just have always ridden to work, and it gives you for some reason, going to work on a bike and coming home, you like can let all the stress of the day go, and by the time you get home, you're perfectly at peace with the world and ready to see your kids, and I love it. I've done it for, I don't know, 20 years.
Nice.
And I couldn't go back, but Vegas isn't necessarily the most bike friendly place in the world. So all kinds of crazy stuff has happened to me over the years, riding a bike. But
when I lived in Chicago, I used to ride my bike to Leo Burnett, and I've bounced off of buses. I've been cut off by cabs. My bus. There was the one time I was riding, and the bus driver cut in front of me as I was trying to make my way through traffic, and I bounced off the window, right?
Oh, you're kidding.
And the lady who was sitting there, she just wanted to get to work. She must have had a heart attack.
Oh, yeah.
Because I bounced off. And she's like, oh. I just kind of waved, said good morning, got it back on my bike, and took off.
Wow. You're lucky you're not dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, the bus drivers, they're supposed to be on your side, the whole alternative transportation thing. But I don't know that they know that you're on your side,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Chicago bus drivers.
No, they just know that they have to cut. They give you 3 cars.
Mm-hmm.
The 1, 2, 3 cars, and then that's it. They're in. Whether or not you are on a bike, if you're in a car, cab, they don't care. Helicopter, they don't care. They will cut you off.
Oh, then talk about the extended buses with the accordions.
Yeah.
So they're longer.
Oh, yeah.
They're longer, so when they make that turn, it's just
they have to go super extra wide.
Yeah, and they don't care. They're still cutting corners like they're a normal bus.
Yeah.
Oh man. No, it's been going to work and coming home every day is like it can get really the same. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, riding your bike, all kinds of crazy stuff happens. You have stories to tell when you get home, and it's been a ton of fun. I've witnessed all kinds of crazy crimes. And
yeah, you are in Vegas.
I got shot once with a handgun, like a pellet gun. Just wanted to see what two. Yeah, this car just rolled up right next to me and just went pap, and it was like a pellet. It went through my jacket, and I felt it hit like my rib, and I'm like, they just shot me. I couldn't believe it. So I pulled over, and sure enough, there's a hole in my jacket, but it didn't leave a mark on me. It was just a stupid little pellet gun,
Oh, jeez.
But
I'd rather bounce off a bus.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
man.
I'd take a pellet. It didn't go all the way in.
That's crazy.
Here's probably the craziest. I don't know. This is not the craziest, but this is up there on the list.
Yes.
So one time I'm coming home. I'm cutting through these neighborhoods. It was the most direct route. So I'm cutting through, and there's like this gang of kids on BMX bikes.
Uh-oh.
And they kind of roll through. They grab this lady's purse, and we merge together. Like where I'm riding my bike and they're riding their bikes, this little gang, our bikes merge together. And this lady's screaming that they stole her purse and the whole thing. And so like I had to like think, okay, am I just trying to get this lady's purse back?
Nice.
And I'm like, no, because I'm going to die if I try to, fight this gang of kids. And so I'm just going to try to outrun them. So they're trying to get away from everybody. I'm trying to get away from them, and we're just staying together. So I turn through this neighborhood, and they turn right with me, and I'm with the getaway gang. So I turn this other corner, and they just stay right with me, like I'm the leader of the gang. And so like we go all through the city, and so then we hit this main road. I'm like, I'm going to lose these kids on this main road. So I just like rush out into traffic. I'm dodging cars and the whole thing, and that's where I lost them. They like stopped at the edge of the road. They're like, "That dude is crazy."
Why were they following you that long?
It was just like, I don't know. We were like all trying to get away. I was trying to get away from them. They were trying to run from the screaming people, and
So it's in his head. This dude knows where he's going. Just keep up with him.
it was the weirdest thing. We just all stayed together.
I was waiting for you to say, and then the cops showed up. They thought I was with these guys, and
No cops showed up. We all got away.
that's.
And the poor lady lost her purse.
I just have a vision of the purse being right there in arm's reach, but you're like, I just got to get away.
Yeah.
I did think about it. I'm like, is it worth it? Is it worth me, taking on this gang of kids? And I'm like, there's no way. It ain't gonna happen.
Awesome.
What are you gonna do? Keep riding.
Well, what we're gonna do is play this or that.
Oh, let's do it.
Ralph Thomas, sketchwallet.com, ralphthomas.com. This or that. Inks or pencils.
Inks.
Ooh.
Well played, sir.
I thought you were really going to go this or that. RalphThomas.com or SketchWallet.com.
I would say Sketch Wallet. That one makes me more money at the moment.
All right.
There you go.
Right.
Good, Jack.
Yeah, Jack. Special edition.
All right. Since you are you work in Vegas, the Strip or Fremont Street.
I'm going to say Fremont. It's older and it's crustier and it's grosser,
It's so
but
good.
it has more character.
But it's so good.
And you can
Fremont has so much more character.
And you can get the drink with like the extra moonshine in it.
I wouldn't.
Plus, you can
trust any
still
drinks down
pay.
here.
You can still play the like penny slots with the whole like giant big gulp of
Nice.
pennies and sit there like all night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to get away from those, but they still do have coin-operated machines. They still exist, and the one-armed bandit where you pull the lever.
Yeah.
They still have
Yeah.
those, but anymore you don't have to pull them. But it used to be you had to pull those things, and so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they're just there.
Wow.
What a ripoff. One of the cool things, I think it was the last time we went to Vegas, we stayed at Fremont Street, and we went just walking looking for something to eat, and there was this mall. I guess it's called a mall, but it was made out of shipping containers.
yeah, it was a super cool place. It's
Yeah.
a container park.
Yeah, that's pretty. They had that weekend. They had this huge metal dinosaur that breathed fire.
What?
Yeah,
Cool.
it was a leftover from Burning Man. So they have Burning Man out in the desert of Nevada, and it was one of the art pieces that came from Burning Man.
Wow,
So it's like a big metal praying mantis, and flames shoot out of the antenna out of the top of it. It's still there. It's great.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we had dinner there, and it was really neat.
Do you remember where you ate?
It was towards the back, because they had the stage back there.
Uh-huh.
They had live music playing, and this was, I think, the only place that actually had relatively good wine. It was on the right-hand side towards the back. I don't remember what it was called.
I forget the name of it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
So
a cool
yeah,
place.
I'm not lying. Quark Express or Word Perfect?
Holy smokes. Quark, for sure.
Just
What?
Word
Would-
perfect.
Word Perfect?
Yeah.
Where'd you pull that from?
Yeah,
Word
that's
Perfect was a layout program way
Yeah.
back in the day.
No,
Wow.
I know. But, like Word.
Yeah. Well, because Quark and Word Perfect were always competing against each other, and Word Perfect had the edge for like maybe 37 minutes.
So wouldn't you just say like Quark and like InDesign?
No, InDesign came much later.
Oh, you just going on.
Quark was a juggernaut for a long time.
Yeah, I remember Word Perfect, but I always thought that was like smaller newsletter type stuff.
Yeah.
People jumped ship as soon as they could on Quark because Quark never updated. Like you would get an update like 2
Yeah.
years later, And so when InDesign came out for the new Mac processor,
all the young kids
everybody jumped ship.
That was that. That was that. I remember. I think I've told this story on the probably because I talk too damn much. But
do.
I was working at that TV Guide, and they had a full version of Quark on their computer, but they did all their page layout in CorelDRAW.
What?
And I said, you know how
Backwards.
cool, like, and I was showing them, you just make a text box and then make another one, and you can actually link them, and all the text will go into this other box, and all this wonderful stuff is happening. You can do all of this, and as I'm talking to them, I'm doing all the page layout and everything, and she's like, oh, yeah, that's nice. So about this about this CorelDRAW. I was like, oh, man.
I thought you were going to say you blew their mind, but apparently they were fans of the CorelDRAW.
Yeah, I did blow their mind, but they didn't. They weren't having it. The same place with the. I kept crashing their computer with my eggs.
Oh wow!
All right, so slots or video poker?
Well, I would. Believe it or not, I don't gamble. Everybody from out of town are the ones that leave their money here. People who live here keep their money. But I would say slots.
Nice. All right, since you live in Henderson, Harry or the Hendersons?
I'm going to go with Henderson's.
Amazing.
You guys remember that show?
Yeah.
When the Henderson family found a Sasquatch and adopted him?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Wasn't that Alf?
Nice.
No.
It was like Alf.
John Lithgow, right?
I don't remember the name.
Was it? Yeah. I think so, yeah. I think he was the dad,
well,
yeah.
there was the TV show, and then wasn't there a movie?
I think so. And then they went and
It
they
is
had
John
like
Lithgow, yeah.
they had the Harry, I think it was a Thanksgiving special that was horrible. It was Harry and like his family, they all got together. I don't know if it was Christmas or Thanksgiving, but they didn't speak language. They growled, so it was like half hour of growling and like subtitles and stuff.
That's horrible.
So dumb.
That sounds like the Star Wars Christmas special. Did you ever see that? It was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty dumb too. All right. Ralph Thomas of sketchwallet.com.
There we go.
Cut or paste?
I'm gonna go with paste because that's the production part where things are happening.
Beautiful. All right, and this one is kind of like the lead up to the next topic.
Wait, did you just really ask?
That's almost like yes or no.
I even like to smile.
Up or down.
I like how you try to keep things moving. Like we weren't going to comment on your question. Like Jack was laughing mid-sentence. I knew he probably would have said something. I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna pause and like let that marinate.
Pencil or pen?
It's like walking or driving.
Yeah, walking or walking briskly. No. Indiegogo or Kickstarter?
Kickstarter.
Is there any
I like
reason?
Indiegogo actually, but Kickstarter just seems to have a bigger audience right now.
That's where all the people are.
Yeah. So, funny enough that we're talking about Kickstarter. Hey, you did a Kickstarter back in the day.
Oh.
Yes, I did.
So you did a Kickstarter for your sketch wallet idea.
Yeah.
Let's go back to why. What happened in your life that you thought to yourself, I need a wallet with a sketchbook in it?
So, referencing back to when we were talking about when advertising just imploded, and I was able to get into gaming. So when I went to Genesis Gaming and I applied, I remember walking in there. It was all dark, and all these artists were on their machines and working on this amazing artwork. And I remember thinking, I need to level up my game here if I'm going to work here at Genesis. And so I wanted to start carrying a sketchbook with me all the time. Luckily, I got the job. I wanted to keep improving, and so I just decided I was going to always carry a pocket sketchbook with me. And one Christmas, I forget which year it was, but my wife, she'll try to make me something for Christmas, or I'll try to make her a piece of art, something that's meaningful. So we just don't pick up at the store,
Mm-hmm.
So she asked me if I had any ideas for her, and I said, I've been carrying the sketchbook. Why don't you make me kind of like a passport wallet, but one that fits, the moleskin sketchbook I like. And so, sure enough, for Christmas, she put together this wallet. And matter of fact, I have
the original
wallet right here. Yeah.
Yes. See, exclusive.
So here is my original sketch wallet.
Prototype.
And
hey, that looks a lot like mine.
Wow.
Empty.
Yeah. So this is
you
the
open that back
original.
Oh, cool.
And so I think what she did was she went to like a leather store and she found a kit, like a passport wallet kit. And what she did is she just adjusted everything to fit the size of.
It's really crafty. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So I was so excited when I opened that. I was so excited, and I was using it every single day, and I just was completely sold on it. And what happened was every time I showed it to another artist, they would freak out and they're like, "I got to have one of those. Well, your wife made me one." I'm like, "No, she's not going to make you one, but
she loves me."
Yeah.
That's it.
But that's kind of what got me thinking about doing a Kickstarter, because I found a lot of value in always carrying a sketchbook. I felt like my skills, my sketching skills improved a lot because I didn't draw a ton in advertising. I mean, I did draw. I did a lot of illustration, but not like in games where I'm drawing every single day. Every day I'm creating art.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an illustrator. So that's kind of, but the more I showed it to artists, the more I was thinking, I may need to throw this out there and see if it's worth pursuing and making this a bigger deal,
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of when the thought came to me, why not make some really nice professional prototypes and make a video, put it out there on Kickstarter and see if there's enough artists out there that feel the same way.
So your video, you had some pretty heavy hitters with holding up your wallet and in your video. I don't know what I'm trying to say, except you had some really big art names in your video.
Yeah.
How did you develop those relationships? How did they find out about your product?
So, with Jake Parker, I've been, internet friends with him for a long time. I never met him in person, but I followed his art way back when he was Agent 44.
Mm-hmm.
So his webpage used to be agent44.com. This was before Missile Mouse and all those guys. He was just drawing and posting stuff, and I really loved his work, and I would buy his products and make comments online and email him every once in a while. So we were just kind of internet friends. And with Tom Bancroft, I was a supporter of his on Patreon and kind of became friends with him through Patreon. So we would Skype every once in a while, and he would give me tips on my art. Which was really amazing because an animator, like if you're a cartoonist, everything is flat, but an animator, they draw things dimensionally.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the stuff I was struggling with, Tom would easily just draw right over the top and say, this is where your issue is, this should be fixed. And anyways, he was super
for
cool.
those folks, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, but for those folks that don't know, Tom Bancroft and his twin brother, they're both Disney animators. And then they went on, I forget which one actually moved to the suburbs of Chicago and worked for VeggieTales. So these guys have been around, yeah, and very respected in the animation industry.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Ralph. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, Tony, his kind of claim to fame is, he directed Mulan. Tom, he's the one that created Mushu. That's his character.
Mm-hmm.
He was the supervising animator for Mushu, and just an amazing artist. He's done so many things. But I got to become friends with him through Patreon, which, if your listeners aren't familiar with that, it's a kind of a crowd supported platform where you support artists and their work. It gives people a great opportunity to get to know artists that you might not otherwise get to know. So, if you're paying somebody every month, then they know you're a true fan. They're a lot more willing to correspond and work with you. So, anyways, I became friends with Tom that way, and I just asked Tom if he would be willing to share kind of his secrets to getting better, and how Sketch Wallet might be able to fix that problem. And the same thing with Jake. I just reached out to him and said, hey, would you mind if I send you a wallet? If you like what you see, would you be willing to make just a quick video clip telling people the benefits of drawing every day? And so they were cool enough to do that for me. But I had built up a relationship with the two of them over several years. I didn't just out of the blue ask them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah, and again, I always talk about this on this podcast. Don't be afraid to reach out to people that you respect. Ralph just got done talking about how he reached out to Tom and asked him, "This is something that I'm working on. How do I get better?" And generally speaking, if you approach the people that you look up to in a genuine way, they're going to almost always want to help you, because they're furthering the art style, I guess, or the artwork. And, by helping you, it just
it's unique because in other industries, maybe amongst magicians, maybe they don't want to share their secrets. I don't know. I'm not a magician. But in the art world, it seems like people want to share. People want to share what they know. They're not, Tom certainly is not afraid or intimidated by me. I'm not going to take work from him. So it doesn't, it's not going to affect him in any way to share with me. And I think most artists are cool like that. They don't mind sharing. And I think the only reason that an artist might not share is because they just don't have the bandwidth. They don't have the time, or maybe they're faced with deadlines or something. But if you catch them at the right time, I think every artist is willing to share. At least the ones that I know.
Yeah. And we've tossed out Tom Bancroft's name a couple times, and if you guys don't already know, and you're huge fans of the animation industry, the Bancroft brothers have a podcast that's called the Bancroft Brothers Podcast, ironically enough. And they talk to industry professionals, and like I said, they've been in the animation industry for a long time. And one of the cool things that that's very related to what we're talking about. I know sometimes I struggle with, I know I want to draw something, I just don't know what I want to draw. Tom came out with this app that you can get on your iPhone, I think maybe on the iPad too, but it's called Sketchbyte. And I open it, when I first got it, I think I downloaded it like maybe 3 months ago. And then I opened it, and if you guys look what we have there.
Nice.
An advertisement on Sketchbyte for the Sketch Wallet.
Awesome.
So I knew it was meant to be. when I downloaded this app, I actually pulled out my sketch wallet and I drew whatever it was that was suggested in my sketch wallet. How's that for coming around full circle?
Nice.
Like sketch wallet inception.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's cool. I was it was just really neat to open it up and see that there, and see how your relationship with Tom just continues to I guess grow or feed into itself, whatever it is that I'm trying to say.
No, it works out great because I mean he wanted to launch this app, and so we talked before he even launched it, and I'm like, that's perfect for the crowd that I want to reach. And so I want to be involved somehow or sponsor it or whatever. And so we worked out kind of a sponsorship arrangement. It's been great for me. I hope it's been worth it for him. And they've been giving out sketch wallets as prizes and things. So it's been a great thing for both of us. I think at least it has been on my end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's really really neat.
What you think worked the most though out of the whole thing? Because I know Kickstarter can be a crazy beast to try to get going, and I have friends that are trying to do Kickstarters all the time. But out of everything that you've been through on it, what worked the most, or that you learned the most from doing it? I guess I should say.
Well, before I started, I was looking through some how-to manuals, and in that how-to manual, they said, reach out to this guy Carlos. He will buy anything.
Yo, Ralph, you're amazing. I didn't know where it was going, and then I realized halfway through.
Oh, so good.
It was like this,
yes. I was like, who is this guy?
Before you start, you got to pitch to Carlos. If he'll buy it, then you know you got something.
Yes. I will be sitting on my coolest cooler drawing in my sketch wallet.
No, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to Kickstarter, and I probably started a year before I launched just doing my homework, because I'm like, I don't want to just throw this out there and fail when other people have failed before me and are willing to share with me why they failed and what to avoid.
Right.
The biggest thing for me was leading up to it that you have to have internet advocates. You have to have people that are willing to share.
Yep.
Yeah, and so thinking that through, I'm like, I need to make 30, prototypes, get those prototypes out there to influential artists, and then when I launch, these influential artists are going to post this on their social media. And I'm going to have that quick start to my campaign. And so I did a lot of pre-building. I even launched ads on Lines and Colors blog, on Facebook, I think even Instagram. I launched ads before my campaign even started, and I had like this sign-up page and said, here's what's coming. I had the video on there. It said, sign up, give me your email, and I'll let you know when it launches. And so when that list hit a certain level, and I knew enough people that were interested that I could meet at least, a quarter of my goal, I knew that it was time to launch it. So, but I didn't want to launch until I knew I had enough influential artists ready to plug it. I had enough people out there interested in buying it that they would buy it as soon as I launched it. So when I launched it, it was a real strong launch, and I was on the popular page for several days into my campaign, which really kind of helped catapult it into doing better. But the pre-launch is really important.
Yeah.
I don't think a good idea is good enough to carry you. You've got to do that pre-preparation.
It's probably like the coolest bit of advice is the pre-launch that I don't hear people talk about enough. Is that pre-launch? And then getting all those influential artists. It's like literally what any other big company would have done, shoe company or anybody else, which didn't think about it at the time when we would tease Carlos about it, but it didn't get me to watch the whole video and go back to the Kickstarter because you had the Jake Parkers and all those guys on there. So like, great advice for all you guys. Write that down if you're listening.
Yeah.
Pre-launch. Was it kind of like a countdown type deal then? Since how far in advance did you, like a week or so? You would say?
I worked the pre-launch. I started a couple months before.
Oh wow.
I started doing homework like a year before, and then a couple months before is when I started, showing people the video, giving people wallets, and then right up until like a week before is when I gave everybody the actual date. Like I emailed everybody on the list and said, this date is when I'm going to launch. And then when I actually hit the button and launched it, I sent that email to everybody on that list and said, it's live now. If you're going to buy, please buy early so I can boost the popularity rankings. And thankfully those people that signed up were serious and they bought that first few hours.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Cool.
Yeah, that's doing your pre-homework is so absolutely brilliant because there's been a lot of really good ideas out there that don't get funded just because a good idea is just not enough. To be absolutely brutally honest, it's just not enough. So yeah, cool. Good on you for actually thinking about it and planning it out, and you got it done, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
I was really happy with how things went.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just saying I was really happy with how things went, and I could have done a lot of things better. I could have done better with the media. Like I don't think I did very good at getting like actual media outlets to cover it. Press releases or things like that. I didn't do very good. My whole focus seemed to be influential artists. But if I could, when I launch something again, I'm going to do both. I'm going to reach out to influential people, blogs, and official, news sources.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
See if I can get some traction there.
And the wallet is made in the U.S.
Yeah, and that's something. In the past, I've been involved in manufacturing different things, like in advertising, like lapel pins, and I've done everything, keychains, belt buckles, and stuff. Most of it's been made overseas in China. And this thing, so I had plenty of connections in China. I could have made this wallet in China, but I just kind of made the decision early, like I want to be able to visit the factory if I want to.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure it's quality, but that was a tough decision because I could have sold the wallet for a lot cheaper because you're faced with, I have an expensive wallet that I'm selling to artists which aren't necessarily known for having lots of money. So that's kind of the dilemma I'm in.
That's a really good point.
But I just said I want to have a solid product, and I think that in the long term having a solid product is a better idea. Now China, anymore you can get great stuff made in China. They can do top quality stuff. They can do a wallet just as good as I'm making here in the U.S. But they're just, I don't want to fly down there and not know what's going on in their factory, and so I'm not putting China down. I've done plenty of products made in China, but for this project I wanted it made in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So the leather came from cows here in the U.S. The manufacturing is sewn by somebody right in Wisconsin in their factory. It's a 100-year-old factory. Even the sketch books, the paper is made from American trees, from American paper mills.
Wow.
The guys that made the cover are like 7th generation paper guys, like father to son for 7 generations. All of them have been making paper. So it was fun to kind of resource all this out, to do my homework and find good, solid American companies. But you give up selling them for cheaper. So that was a tough decision,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the starving artist myth hopefully is becoming just that, because hopefully artists are starting to wake up to knowing that they're worth a lot more, and it's the tools that you use that's going to actually make you more productive therefore making you more money. For example, we were talking about this earlier before the podcast started, where are you a Mac or PC and all this stuff, and it used to be where people would rent computers or whatever. Artists didn't have the money it took to get a computer or whatever. And now we have, Wacom products. We have things like the Sketch Wallet, Macs, blah blah blah. I think artists are starting to realize that if you need the tool, you might as well get something that's going to last.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you have tools that last, you're going to be more productive and you're going to make more money.
Yep.
I agree. Yeah. Well said.
That's one of my things. Like I'm pretty cheap. I don't buy a lot of clothes. I don't buy, but when it comes to things like things that are going to make me money, like my Sketch Wallet, Wacom products, all that stuff, I don't hesitate to get good quality stuff because it's just going to make me money, and I know that for a fact, and I never hesitate when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree, and sometimes like I get the bug and I want to buy a new computer, and I just I'll hang on a little bit, so when it starts to not be able to do what I need it to do, then I'll upgrade. And you buy a decent computer, it's going to last you for a while, and then when it gets to the point where it's just starting to slow down a little bit and it's not keeping up with the software, then that's when I'll upgrade.
Right.
Great fun.
So you being the Sketch Wallet guy, how do you use your Sketch Wallet?
Yeah, I use it every day. I mean, I'm doodling in it constantly. I have kind of an unusual method. I'll sketch from the front page towards the back, and then I will take notes from the back page forward. So if I need to write down somebody's phone number, or a to-do list or things like that, I'll write it in the back. My sketchbook isn't so sacred that I don't write notes in it and stuff.
Yeah.
So when the sketches meet the notes in the middle somewhere, then I'll switch out the book. But usually my sketchbook is mostly it's 80% sketches and 20% just random notes and to-dos and phone numbers and stuff like that. The one thing that I've found though since I've been sketching in a Sketch Wallet that I didn't plan on or I didn't expect is the nature of what I draw is different. So when I'm drawing in a sketch pad at work or at home, it seems to be for a project. It seems to be for a freelance job, or it seems to be for a project at work. But my Sketch Wallet seems to be just things that are fun. They're just randomness. Mm-hmm. And I'll just doodle things that don't have any purpose in mind. They're just things to draw. And so the nature of what I've been drawing in my Sketch Wallet has been a lot more loose. It's been a lot more without purpose, just drawing for the sheer enjoyment of drawing. And I think it's been helpful because a lot of those ideas that I draw, I'm like, that's actually a lot of fun. I wonder if that would work as a game. And so a lot of good things come out of it. And even if nothing came out of it that was financially useful, it's still incredibly fun to just draw for the sake of drawing.
Yeah.
Right. Do you find yourself in one of those situations where how a lot of brainstorming happens at, say, you're sitting at McDonald's and you have a stack of napkins and you're drawing on the napkin? Do you find that your wallet is actually taking place of that napkin, the magic napkin?
Yeah, I think that for me it was always Post-it notes. I would have piles of Post-it notes with doodles all over them.
That's a bunch of yellow Post-it notes.
Exactly.
And stuff like this too. Like I have just scattered paper all over the place.
Yeah, I always thought that I should take those random bits of paper and like make like a scrapbook or something and put them together. Um, but yeah, the sketch wallet has kind of helped keep it all together.
Yeah.
I used to take
have
the post-it notes and make flip books. It's the best.
Or what you
How would
do
you
is
bind them?
you take and you draw something on a post-it note and you just keep drawing, and then eventually you just put all the post-it notes together for this big, huge, magnificent mural.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you found that other people are using the sketch wallet in the same way you are, or what's the most unique way you've heard of people using the sketch wallet?
I love it when people I'll see like comic book artists. They'll do thumbnails of their comics, and I love to see stuff like that where they're thumbnailing out their stories. And so they're not doing any final work, of course, but they're just kind of getting the flow wherever they're at. One guy emailed me today, said that he even drew while sitting on the can, so it's like
Oh, don't ever touch his sketchbook.
Hey,
it wasn't me. But I've probably the strangest place I've ever drawn was standing in a corner waiting for the crosswalk. I was drawing in my sketchbook while waiting for the crosswalk thing to go. I was in the middle of a drawing, and so it's like I'm at the crosswalk. I'm like, I'm gonna pull this out and just finish this sketch, and then the light turns green. I cross. So I mean, I just find these random places to kind of fill in the cracks of drawing, and but yeah, I love it when I see other people using it in unusual ways. I love like people watching, so people will post on Instagram like they're at a cafe, they're at a bar, they're on a train or somewhere, and they're sketching people around them. I love to see those.
Right. Yeah.
Michael Jancy, he's a syndicated cartoonist. I see his every once in a while. He'll post, sketches for upcoming comic ideas and notes. He had a great one from a baseball game where he's sitting in the stands and he was drawing things.
That one happened. Was it today or just yesterday? He drew one of the baseball players. I think it was Angel Pagan. He drew.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He lives in probably about a half hour away from me. And I always tell the story that I was listening to him on a podcast, and he kept talking about the area that he lived in. And I said, "Wait a minute, that's down the street." So I reached out to him, and we went and had coffee one day.
Nice. He's a great guy. He's super cool.
He really is. He's got one of those voices that I don't know. I think it's every comic artist always has that one scratchy voice that they can do all the time. And he can do it so well.
On a roll.
He could do voiceovers. He could
get a little
get
a little accent on the end of that one too. A little raspy accent.
Yeah. Yeah. He can get that raspiness going, and anyway, he's really cool. So yeah. Stop.
You're amazing.
Nice. Yeah, he's pretty cool. That's been one of the funnest parts about this whole thing is just to see everybody else using this wallet. I mean, I couldn't even imagine what people are doing with it. I had kind of what worked for me, and to see all these amazing artists sketching and drawing and coming up with stuff, that's been a lot of fun for me. I've just been living on Instagram, when people hashtag sketch wallet. I love to see what people are doing.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. So yeah, you can go to Instagram.com/sketchwallet and see. I mean, there are so many absolutely incredible artists that are using this thing. Yeah, it's bananas.
It's like, I want your sketch wallet. Just go ahead and send it to me. You have amazing stuff in there.
Actually, well, I only have a few more questions. But while I ask them, I'm going to share my screen so people can see what we're talking about. Yeah, I mean, just remarkable artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's amazing that people are squeezing such complex art into little pages. They're only 3.5 by 5.5, so.
Yeah, it's like they have to draw really small sometimes, or they have to fill up a lot of ink. This one's a lot of ink.
Yeah.
The neat thing, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so you can see. The neat. Okay, I have my credit cards in there, but the cool thing is not only it comes with its own pencil and it has a pencil holder. So you literally always have a sketch pad and a pencil with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the pencil, I mean, it's a little ridiculous, and I admit that. I mean, it's this tiny little pencil, and most people are like, "Are you serious? I am never going to draw with this tiny pencil." And I kind of felt the same way, but the amazing thing is I'm surprised how much I do use it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking ahead, I'll bring a brush pen with me, or something. But I forget all the time.
Box.
In the box. Come
No!
in the box.
Yeah, that's from Jesse LeBay. He's great. He's great.
Amazing.
Does some really amazing stuff.
So Ralph, what's the future hold for you?
I don't know. I want to keep going with the Sketchwalk thing and see how far it'll take me, and keep coming out with new products. I want to come out with kind of a women's version. I've been surprised how many women have been buying this wallet.
Really?
I kind of had men in mind when I made it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a manly wallet, but tons of women have been buying it, and so I want to come out with kind of a women's specific one, which kind of opens things up because if they're going to keep it in their purse, you can do more things with it if they're not sitting on it.
Yeah. But you don't want it too big because they won't want to carry it even in their purse. I wonder what you would do. That's awesome.
Yeah, that one cracked me up.
What?
He had to pay his bills today. His wallet took a kick.
Just the eyes. Even that Kuma one is cool. I used to always get I'm not necessarily jealous, but I used to always really like when I would see artists take up whole pages, when they would just draw the long way,
Yeah.
I always liked that even in regular sketchbooks when you would exchange your sketchbooks if you're at a Comic-Con or something like that. You show the other person, they have some multi-page thing where either the page is a continuation each time, but maybe the next one they had to use the full length one, especially if they wanted to be comic book artists and they were doing layouts, they would have Spider-Man falling off. I've seen one cool one where think of a regular size sketchbook, but they use both pages, but they started as the center of the page where the page fold was the center line, so they had this whole perspective shot of Spider-Man on a skyscraper, but everything's going down, downwards,
Nice.
but they start at the center of the page, right? So Spider-Man's at the top of the page, so the bottom half of the page, if you're holding the book the right way, was just the city in perfect perspective.
Wow.
It was cool. I think it was at a comic book convention or an anime convention back in the day. I gave the sketch back. Okay, cool. Take this shit back. This is good. This is amazing.
Amazing.
But it was done with blue pencil and Sharpie. He kind of had this little bit of a graffiti style. But the thin Sharpies, the thin ones you can get. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I just love those things. It's one of the things about sketchbooks I like when they do.
Yeah, somebody's inspires you to do some cool stuff.
Yeah, they're just playing with layout. It's really cool.
Ralph, has there been one or two or a collection of people that have posted a drawing in their sketch wallet, and you're like, oh my god, that person has one?
Yeah. There's I've been surprised to find, like guys that'll work on cartoons that I like, or SpongeBob or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of when orders would come in, I'm like, that name sounds really familiar, and I would look it up, or some of them names I would instantly recognize.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy who draws the comic strip Zitz.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jerry Scott and Jim Borgman,
Wow.
they ordered a wallet, and I was just like, felt so honored that these guys ordered a wallet. They probably saw Michael Jancy post or something, and then ordered. But so yeah, I've just been blown away, and it's been great to discover people who I have no idea who they are, and they'll post some amazing work, and I'm like, wow, you only have like 100 followers on Instagram, and your stuff is completely amazing.
Yeah.
And they may only draw as a hobby.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, isn't that great?
So you can't even see where the center line is anymore. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love shots like that.
Oh, that's the other one when the stuff is like heavily rendered. That's cool too.
Yeah.
It's cool looking at all these, like the Calvin and Hobbes tribute ones. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I try to mix it up. I mean, I try not to put the same type of art on there, but there's so many different people posting unique stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised how far people have pushed it. I mean, I'll see like heavy marker use, or watercolors, or acrylics, or something like that, where it really wasn't intended for watercolor. But
I was wondering how the paper's holding up and stuff. I want to see what the back looks like. Does it bleed or?
It will. If you're using Copic markers, it'll bleed through. So you got to use like a backer sheet.
Yeah.
But it won't warp. I mean, with the markers, it doesn't really warp. It will with watercolor, but with markers, it'll stay solid. But it will bleed through if you're heavy marker use.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, this Rafabits guy, he's really good too.
Oh yeah, plug him.
Oh yeah, yeah, come on. That's so good. The tall one is awesome. Like it's just.
Thank you,
Tyler. You know that's Ralph.
Yes, I see. It's good.
Oh.
I know it's Ralph. I love that one. I just like the curly hair.
Yeah.
The Wet Bandits.
Yeah. It's a great name. It's a great name.
That was a great movie. We got to kick off every Christmas season with that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And this one where Lionel is doing his hair. So good.
He's always had fabulous hair,
All right. I'm going to sit here for the rest of the show and just.
You
look
just like never ending.
It's amazing.
You have like
so many
good we've had.
So many good artists. I actually drew this one before. I copied this one before.
Nice. The one that's posting a lot right now is Howard Lyon. He does some amazing stuff. He does.
I see him. Yeah, he gets the heavy render stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he does stuff for Magic and other fantasy type art. He does religious art. He does great portraits and fine arts painting. He does all kinds of stuff. But that guy is incredible.
Yeah, I want to see his. Yeah.
Super generous. He wrote an article, actually. I didn't even know he was doing this. He wrote an article on Muddy Colors about the benefits of a sketch wallet.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah. So do you know this guy who you're looking at? It's
Rickle? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know him, but he's phenomenal.
Yeah, his stuff is so great. He's one of the funniest guys ever.
Yeah.
I mean, his little short films and stuff are so great. I think he was co-director with Box Trolls as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Who's that one in the center, Carlos?
This guy here?
Yeah. I'm gonna look. You can kind of see what it looks like with the look at the bleed. What the bleed looks like on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, over here.
Kind of cool though, like.
Yeah, his bleed is a really cool drawing too.
Yeah, it's not
the other
bad.
side. Yeah.
Yeah, he posts a lot of great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The one with the boom, that's Tony Bancroft. He posted that. I was super excited to see him post. Um,
It's awesome.
yeah, those guys, both those brothers, are so amazing with like anatomy, and it just looks like it comes so easy to them, you know.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
Those aren't hard. Those are hard
I'm
poses.
following his brother. I'm not following him. Now I am.
Bias. I'm not following him.
Yeah, it's funny if you listen to their podcast. They're always arguing. They're always asking their guests, "Who do you like better, me or him?" It's like this whole sibling rivalry thing. That's just hilarious.
One time I emailed
Look at this.
Tom
What
and
did it say?
and I said, "You're the best," and he goes, "Yeah, I know," and Tony knows it too.
That's a brother response right there.
Yeah.
Like so quick, just effortlessly, just flies off the tongue. I know it.
Yeah, so that one's Tyson Murphy. He's the one that's really pushed the paper, and Tyson is so amazing. Like I was just blown away when I saw this. I was just like, I never even expect anybody to do something like that.
Oh, look at the octopus one. Oh, the colors in that is awesome.
This, yeah, I don't think that's Sketch Wallet though.
No, I wish it was, but
Just say it.
Really went for it.
but you have to admit what he's done on the sketch wall has been pretty dang amazing.
Look at the guy, the troll-looking guy though. That's still like,
yeah, that's crazy.
like does he buy a lot of the wallets? I feel like he would go through a lot of
Yeah,
within
seriously.
a month's time. Yeah.
Anyway, all right, that's the end of the feed, and
Yeah,
might as
Creature
well.
Box. Those guys at the very bottom there.
Oh, don't get
Creature
me
Box,
started.
man. Those guys are so insane. I know you know who they are.
Oh,
Yeah,
their
they're
stuff
ridiculous.
It's just good. It's just like
It's not fair.
No, it's not.
oh,
No, it's not.
because look, anyway.
And those guys are super cool too. I mean, just regular guys, you know.
Yep. They have cool ideas. They work over at Insomniac game studio.
Yeah.
They're like buddies that work together, you know. But they have such great ideas. That's what you want as a modeler. Like, one of those guys are like one of your concept artists. You just got endless good stuff to go by, you know. Good turnarounds. It just makes it easier.
Yeah, amazing art, great ideas.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. All right, let's wrap this bad boy up. We're coming up on 2 hours.
Wrap it up.
Do you guys have any more questions for Ralph?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Jack.
So Ralph, thanks for
Yeah.
thanks for coming on, and thanks for
Yes, please. Thank you.
for backing my play when it comes to.
We still want to talk about you though.
They were teasing me in a big way.
Epic.
Hey,
So-
listen, I appreciate it. I appreciate you and the other 1,072 people that pledged, helped me get this thing off the ground, and
Yeah.
I sincerely appreciate it. So, and thanks for inviting me on the show. It's been super awesome. It's been a lot of fun.
Coming on. It's been great.
Great. Thank you for coming on. Like I said, and if people wanted to find you and or the Sketch Wallet out there in the internets, where can they look?
So sketchwallet.com is a great place to start. Twitter, Instagram, everything else is at sketchwallet. Me personally, you can start at ralphthomas.com, and my Twitter and Instagram are at Ralphabits, and it's like alphabet cereal, but Ralphabits.
Ralphabits, awesome.
And I look forward to meeting a lot of new people.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Charlie, if people are looking for you.
No,
Well,
Charlie.
he waited
What?
2 hours to do that mess.
Jack, the sound guy jumped on me quickly. No.
Look at Jack is on strike. Thanks,
So sorry, Jack. I'm so sorry. You can find me at my site, cargocollective.com/CharlieBWilliams, Facebook, CharlieBW3, and that almighty Pinterest. Go check that out too, CharlieBW3. Great stuff there. Get some inspiration in your life. Like that.
Jack.
I am at sketchbookjack.com, sketchbookjack on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, all that good stuff.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And I am Carlos Gomez. You can find me at carlosrgomez.com, or if you're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, or Behance, you can find me under the name Coconut Justice. This has been the Sketch Zone podcast. You can find us at sketch.zone. Hey, if you have an idea as far as a guest goes, go to sketch.zone/guest. Fill out the little form. Let us know. Handle that business. If you're on Twitter, you can find us at SketchZone. You can go to facebook.com. Facebook.
Spit it out. Try again.
The Sketch Zone. I should do the raspy voice. You can find us on youtube.com/SketchZone Podcast.
Nice.
Spider-Man.
Keep going.
Keep going. Jim Lee.
You can go to youtube.com/SketchZone Podcast. You can find us on Stitcher, SoundCloud. Find us over there on iTunes.
It's about the best voice you've ever done in your life.
Hey, if you leave us a comment on iTunes, we'll read it on the show. So, hey, we're done here. Go out there and be nice. See you next week.